Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. On today's Question the Narrative, I'm going to talk about the question, where do we go from here? Because it's something I've been pondering. And what I mean by where do we go from here is, where do we go once we have discovered the truth about our situation? Or if not even the truth, maybe just the truth of the fact that we've been lied to. Because let's be honest, a lot of times we don't even know what's true anymore. And that is what has spurred this train of thought for me. Because we know that things are not what we've been told. I talk about this all the time. That's the whole reason for this Question the Narrative series. And, I just been thinking to myself, what is going to come of this? What is going to come of all of us looking into, things like possibly a reset in the past, or the nature of our realm, the truth behind NASA, um, what so many things that we have been told about are blatant lies, fabrications, and in some cases they might give us a little bit of truth, but backed up mostly by lies. But with us looking at all of these things, is anything ever going to come of this? And in all honesty, I think the only thing that will come of it, and the only good that will come of it, is that we are able to spread the word to others. We are able to wake other people up, those who are ready to be woken up. But in the end, if you followed this topic and you are aware of what resets are and the fact that there have likely been several resets in the past, all I keep thinking is we are likely headed down the road of an accelerated reset event because of this great awakening. And I can't help but wonder, is that what caused at least maybe the last reset? Were people waking up at that time? And also, technologically speaking, were they at the point where they were getting too hard to control? And I think that that's where we are now. Now, one thing that I have to say is that the multiple resets, on top of the stories that we are told over and over in history that are just repetitious, like some important documents burned down in a building that was fireproof, and then you'll hear that it happened in another time and another time. There's always some documents, or like the 1890 census, were destroyed in a fire, and just stories like that. Yes, they're cyclical, and it really does remind me of that verse of the verse from Ecclesiastes that says there is nothing new under the sun. And I know that I've spoken of this verse a few times, but I think that it's really important when looking at the world around us. Ecclesiastes 1:9 tells us, and I will read it in both New Living Translation because I think it is the clearest, but I will also read it in King James Bible because I know that there are those of you who prefer that one. I honestly do not have a preference, and I'm not going to get into a debate over that. But the New Living Translation says, history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. And the King James Bible says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. And that is really where we're at right now. We look at the events that have been happening all around us, and we have a very self-centered view of history because we think that what we are going through right now is absolutely the worst that could ever possibly happen, and everything has to be coming to an end at this point in time. But I'm sure that there have been generations and generations of people who have thought the same thing. And to them, yes, it very likely did look like the end of all things. Why? Because things are cyclical. And that is something that is so important that I think that we realize. And truth is coming to light right now. And we knew this would happen. And just like the verse that I had up here from Luke 12:2, the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. And that is what's happening. We're at a point in time where truth is coming to light. What sorts of truths? Well, I could be here all night talking about the things that are being revealed. But, let's talk about, for example, the worldwide civilization. We are constantly being told that the generations of people, our ancestors, were very low, very, I don't know, I can't even speak properly, but they had very little technology. Therefore, much of what they did was primitive. Back in the 19th century, they used horse and carts. And, we're made to think that in these, what we would normally think of as less advanced countries, that they were basically living in huts. And that's not what we see. What we see, and this is from stolenhistory.net, and I'll leave a link to it. I actually did talk about this in another video, but there are the same type of buildings from all over the world. So when we are shown pictures of Japan and Taiwan, typically speaking, we are shown pictures of buildings that are very, very different from Western architecture. But that's not actually what we see. Here, I'll just show a select few photos from Japan. And does that look like something that you would think of as being in Japan? No, not at least if you've been following the history that we've been told for a very long time. And it's not just Japan. We are seeing the same type of architecture worldwide, coming from people who supposedly had horse and carts and may have had steam technology, but basically were doing everything with their hands. So we have Japan, Taiwan, Argentina, Cuba, Chile, Paraguay, the USA, Russia, Iran, Poland, Vietnam, Pakistan, India, South Africa, Thailand, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Germany, Ukraine, China, New Zealand, Singapore, Sweden, Indonesia, Kenya, Egypt, Brazil, Australia, Canada, Philippines, and so on. And again, actually, there are some beautiful pictures right in the comments here. So I encourage you to come to this link and check this out. It's fascinating, but the fact remains that there seems to have been a worldwide civilization at one point in time, and that there were people who kind of just came in and took over the buildings that had already previously been built. At least that's what it seems like if we are following the narrative of how we are told our ancestors did things. And I know there will always be people in the comments who say, oh, well, they were able to do these things, but they never actually tell you how. They just fervently believe that they were able to build these magnificent buildings with a horse and cart simply because they were always taught that these people were able to do these things. And they didn't ever question how it was done. They just accept what they're told, and anything to the contrary makes them uncomfortable. And so sometimes they get a little saucy, but it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to ask how these things happen. How are people able to build these beautiful buildings like this with little to no technology, at least again, from the narrative that we have been told all this time? Look at that. This is in Taiwan. Stunning. So we have evidence of a worldwide civilization. What happened to the builders of that worldwide civilization? Well, it seems that there again had been some sort of reset. We don't know exactly what caused it, but we do know, at least we speculate. I never say that I know, because that's what the whole point of questioning the narrative is. Unless you have concrete evidence, never I don't ever want to come forth as saying that I have the answers, because I don't. I don't have the answers. I have the questions, and I'm not afraid to come out and ask them. So anyway, moving on from the worldwide civilization. So that is one thing that is coming to light, and you have to ask why. Why would they be hiding this old worldwide civilization? And I'll get to that in a little bit. But the next thing that we're just going to look at is the fact that there was some sort of cataclysmic event. It is likely that there was a cataclysmic event that caused this reset of people. I did have a photo here, and I see that it vanished. So we do have some evidence of what it seems to be evidence of some sort of cataclysmic event. Now, Could it possibly have been a worldwide earthquake? I'm thinking that's possible. So this looks to be dwellings that were underneath these buildings here. And I have to say that no one will think twice of finding ruins underneath, say, houses in Egypt or maybe houses in Greece. But if you try to tell them that in the United States or in Canada, there are buildings with ruins beneath them, people don't want to hear that because, again, it's not something that was taught in the history books. It makes them uncomfortable. But there was likely some, at least it's possible that there was some sort of worldwide earthquake, and maybe liquefaction. Soil liquefaction could have caused much of the mudflood buildings that we talk about. There also could have been some sort of plasma event. This is a favorite theory by a lot of people, and I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't really looked into the plasma theory yet, but it would explain much of the turmoil that happened on the earth, because from what I understand, it could have caused much upheaval on the land, and it could also have explained many of the meteor showers and comets that always seemed to be prevalent around the times of the disasters that we're told about. For example, the great fires that we are always, actually, I'm not going to say that we're always told about the great fires in school, because I didn't learn of the great fires until just maybe last year. Because if you actually look up, if you type in great fire in practically any city, at least in the United States, and I know Canada as well, you will find that every city burned at least once. And you can chalk it up to there not being fire codes, but if you look at many of these buildings, they were brick, and they look like they were possibly not burned, maybe bombed, or maybe pummeled with something. Again, speculation. And I also happen to think of the days of Peleg, and I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but that's how I'm going to say it. So the Bible tells us in Genesis 10:25 that, well, it records the birth of Peleg. And Peleg means division, for in his days was the earth divided. And I will leave a link to this article in the description box, but it actually does not promote the theory that I think possibly could have been meant by the days of Peleg, but it does explain it. So I'm going to explain it a little bit. Since Peleg means division, and for him in his days was the earth divided, I think it's possible that the evidence that we see of this worldwide civilization, possibly it could have been one continent. And during this time, the continents were broken up during the days of Peleg, when the earth was divided. And so that could have separated all of these different groups of people. I don't know. Now, a lot of people believe that that happened during the flood, and that also is a possibility. And there are a lot of people who believe that the magnificent buildings that we are seeing are pre-flood, but I'm thinking that I don't know if they would have survived that much water. Would there have been some major evidence, at least, of water damage? So my question is, could it have actually been in the days of Peleg instead that these continents were divided, and possibly that's why we're seeing a lot of the same structures? Because in all honesty, we don't know how old these buildings really are. We know what we're told how old they are, but we don't know, because at this point in time, we are lied to about so many things that we literally can't believe anything that they tell us. So anyway, let's just read this a little bit. It says, 4 generations after Noah, Genesis 10:25 records the birth of Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. Some suggest the continents of the earth were divided at this time, which is what I believe is possible. I'm not saying absolutely, it's possible. However, this seems unlikely, as such a process would have had to occur within a very confined time period, which, yeah, if you're looking at a global earthquake, very possible. The resultant geological violence would be overwhelmingly catastrophic, which again screams reset event to me, which to me, I believe that it is possible that something like this could have happened, like another Noahic flood all over again. Any continental separation thus likely occurred during the flood. And that's if you believe that there was never a catastrophic event. But if you believe that there is evidence of resets, several resets, then you know that it's very possible that there was enough violence on the earth, geologically speaking, that something could have happened in a very short time. So could it have been in the days of plague? I'm not really sure. So, we've also been exploring just the nature of our realm, because we're told quite a bit of doozies by our government. Things that, if you actually look into them, make absolutely no sense. So people are waking up to that. We're waking up to the fact that those global elite, so to speak, they don't care about us as humans. Right now, you know what? I'm not even going to get into this whole other topic of what we are all going through now for the past 2 years, because that would be another video completely, and I don't want to do it now. But we know their intentions. We also know, unfortunately, that science and medicine are a business. We can believe all we want that the scientists and the doctors out there have the purest of intentions. And I believe that there are some that do. But I think that we're coming to an age where we're told in the Bible that money is a root of all evil. And money talks for a lot of these people. And so, yes, it has become a business. And I think that that's something else that we're going to have to accept. We need to accept that it's not just a pure study of science anymore. It's whatever is going to line the pocketbook. So we're not able to trust a lot of what we're told in that area. And a lot of people are also waking up to the satanic agenda behind a lot of the major influencers out there. What's this all about? What is going on here? I found a really interesting article called, that's not the name of it. The One-Eyed Sign, Its Origins and Occult Meaning. So if you want to go through this, it tells you all the different reasons behind the one eye symbol that we see very often. Sometimes they're covering one eye. Sometimes they have the 666 sign over the eye, as they do in that video that I showed you. Not video, sorry, image, this one. So, but we see this all over Hollywood, and this isn't the only symbol. We see lots of symbols that they all keep repeating. And, we see them dressing up as the Baphomet, and we see them depicting biblical events like that with, I believe it was Judas Iscariot. Someone reenacted that. And people are asking, what the heck is going on? What is it with all this Satanism? If you go on Netflix, I would say a good 3/4 of the movies on there now have to do with the occult. So what is going on? Yes, I understand that that's what people are interested in right now, but what got them interested in it in the first place? Because they were being exposed to it all the time. So again, I mentioned this before, conspiracy theories, as they are called, we're finding out they're true, especially in the past 2 years. Things that we were told a year ago were conspiracy theories. A year later, we're being told, oh yeah, that is true. And they try to write it off like they never said that it wasn't true to begin with. It's like in 1984 when when the Big Brother changes the chocolate ration and people don't even recognize it. They don't even realize the chocolate ration has been changed. That's what it is like with people who are asleep. They don't even realize that things keep changing and they just go with the flow. They will accept whatever they're told. So what is real? That's the problem. What is real? And for example, we have stuff going on like HARP and Project Bluebeam. If you haven't looked into HARP, I suggest you do, because they have a lot of scary stuff going on there, scary technologies. And that's where I was talking about before. Are we getting to the point where not only are people waking up to the lies that we have been told, but our technology is getting to the point that we are going to be completely unable to be controlled. Now, HARP, I've got to tell you, this is a government agency, so I'm not saying that these are private citizens doing this, but private citizens are also developing some insane technology. So this is an image of the Earth just blasted right onto the sky. We have another one here of the Statue of Liberty, and that looks to be from the Twin Towers. Now, I've got to tell you that Project Bluebeam, if you look into it, it is believed that Project Bluebeam is going to be used to create a major false flag of an alien invasion because they are able to project these things into the sky. So if we see something like that in the sky, we will not know if it is real or not. Because right now we're at the point where even CGI is indistinguishable from the real thing. And that's why I keep saying we don't know what's true and what's not. Here we have an article, creating people who don't exist. Have you ever seen this person before? There's no chance of it because she was just created by a computer. Yes, these people don't exist. And it's a new website called This Person Does Not Exist. And it actually creates images of humans that do not exist, but certainly look real. This is scary stuff because, again, we're at the point where how are we going to know what is real and what is not? Not to mention that we have, the fact checkers. You type in fact checkers and we've got Reuters, investors.com, Snopes, PolitiFact. Well, Wikipedia is not really a fact checker, but they're happy to provide some for you. But again, the fact checkers are today's Ministry of Truth. If you're familiar with 1984, you'll know what I'm speaking of. If you're not familiar with 1984, I highly suggest that you get familiar with it. Go get the book out of the library. Go buy it, actually, before you're not able to anymore, and read that book. So my question is just, at what point will our knowledge be our downfall? Our knowledge of the fact that we're being lied to, and our knowledge technologically speaking. And what is it that the serpent says to Adam and Eve in the garden? You will be like God. And I can't help but think of, the biblical resets. Tower of Babel. The people in Babel, they were trying to create a building that would be so high that they would be able to fight with God. And so I can't help but wonder, have the controllers several times now taken a page right out of the biblical playbook and created resets of their own? Because we became too hard to control, too advanced. And is that where we're at in this point in time? At this point in time. So, going back to the question of why, oh, that's not the one that I'm looking for. There we go. Why they possibly would have hidden more advanced civilizations from us, why they wouldn't let us know that there was an ancient worldwide advanced civilization. Could it be possibly because they were so technologically advanced? They wouldn't want us to pick up where they left off, especially if the reset occurred because they got too advanced. It's said that these people had free energy. Well, that certainly wouldn't work in this day and age, would it? They don't want us to have free energy. They want us to pay for everything. So there would be a good reason for them to hide a hidden civilization because they don't want us to know who we are. They don't want us to know what we're capable of. They want us to be at a point where they can keep us herded like animals. And as you can see, going on everywhere around us, people are breaking free. They're waking up and they're making noise. And we're rebelling because we know. And they don't like that. I think at this point in time, the only thing that could stop this cycle, this cyclical life that we're going through of, history repeating itself and reset after reset after reset, is the only thing that could stop it is the return of Christ. But until then, I believe that we are ordained to just keep repeating. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.